about India. Of course, we've been talking for years now about the demographic dividends that India has been enjoying, and what's your view? I mean, how long it's going to last, and do you think the core foundational principles are, improving, and kind of there's a step change which is happening at a ground level, or is it few set of rich people becoming richer, and there's a wider population which is 40%, 50% of rural India, which is still at that level. So it's a bit of a story which is still not very clear.
Yes, and I think it'll remain quite fuzzy for a while.
Yeah.
So many questions in that, but two distinct sets. So the first is the demographic shift and how long the dividend lasts. And the second is to do with the rising inequality, and then what impact it has. So one of the most fascinating things I've found in my research in the last 5 years is that the pace of economic change is faster. So for example, we went from or most of the Asian economies went from $3,000 per capita. I'm talking PPP adjusted. This is purchasing power parity adjusted. 3,000 to 15,000. Korea did it in 21 years. The UK did it in 190 years. Australia did it in 100 years. India is likely to do it in about 30 years. Right? The pace of transition is much faster. The pace of demographic change is even faster.
Okay.
So the drop in fertility, total fertility rate from 3 to 2.5, it took 100 years in most of the developed world, 40 years in some of the more recent. It is happening in 8 years, 5 years in Asian economies. Now, what this means is that you are starting to age really rapidly. And it has been observed so far. Of course, these things can also change with technology and mass behavior. But once the median age crosses 40, it becomes very hard to grow for the economy. And because the desire for bigger houses slows down because the kids are now getting older. The calories you can ingest fall, and median age 40 means that a lot of people are 60 plus. Their travel, their consumption is slowing down. So you have to get rich before you get old, and that sets a deadline. So it is not one of the aaj nahi to kal, right? So even if you don't grow, so we have, I think, a window till 2050. By when our median age, 53 is the current projection, but I think it will be cut because TFR is falling way faster than anyone thought. So the median age crosses 40 around 2053 as of now. So we have, give or take, 27, 28 years, let's say 30 years at the margin, to grow rich, meaning take the per capita incomes to rich country level. And which means that we need to grow much faster than what we're growing right now. And in order to utilize that demographic dividend, we need to reduce underemployment in agriculture or disguise unemployment in agriculture. We need to get more women into the workforce. So the challenge is that we are going to let or waste a lot of these demographic dividends. So I think there's a sense of urgency with which we need to work. Are we doing that? Yes. I mean, I think that state governments, central governments are reforming with a sense of urgency I've not seen before. Listing down. Sometimes, it is the meta level problems which are the hardest. Like, people said ease of doing business. Okay, fine.
What does it mean?
Exactly.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? And so then you have, Rishi Agarwal and his team at Team Lee's RegTech who documented it. Now, just documenting it is so powerful. So I'm aware that, there was this meeting with secretary of one very large ministry, this reforms committee that is sitting. And the secretary says, so the committee said, these many regulations under your ministry need to be decriminalized. He said, we don't have any regulations which have a criminal penalty. He didn't know.
Yeah.
So they said, look, your laws don't have a criminal penalty,
Exactly.
but there are so many legislation, subordinate regulations, which have a criminal penalty, and you didn't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you got to know, you said, oh, obviously, let's cancel those, or rather, let's remove those. So I think the meta level problem of not knowing what you're trying to solve has actually been addressed to some extent, and now we are starting to solve those problems. So I think the desire and the attempt to accelerate our growth are very strong. But coming to the inequality side, I think that, if you ask me, is one of the biggest risks in India, because not because of what we are doing, but because of somehow the natural stage. Like, it's like teenage years for a child. That it's a dangerous phase.
Yes.
And what happens and what is happening right now is that you have a surplus of labor and a shortage of capital.
Yeah.
So as you know, the accounting identity is GDP equal to wages plus profits. It is an accounting identity. So wages plus profits equal GDP. That's how it's calculated. Now, if capital is in shortage and labor is in surplus, obviously capital share of income rises. Every single country that has gone through our phase of development has seen an inevitable rise in inequality. You can try to address it. See, what we did between, say, 2000, maybe 7, 8 and 2000, I would say 18, 19, is try to solve many of these, like, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Actually, GSY, Gram Sadak Yojana started at Atalji in the 2000. Or Vidyutikaran Yojana, like, the electrification scheme, the penetration of smartphones. That's what happened 2007, 8 onwards. So the penetration of phones, that is. And that dramatically improved the productivity of rural workers. So real wages started to go up. So if we can drive some such grassroots level productivity, maybe through access to credit, give them more capital, they can start small businesses. As of now, the whole financial system is very happy giving 5 crore loans, 10 crore loans, 5,000 crore rupee loans, but they cannot viably give 50,000 rupee loans. So solving those problems at scale can perhaps offset that, but inequality is going to rise. If the current system is unfair to a large number of people, it will not last.
Yes.
So that is, I think, our biggest challenge.
True.
That we make sure that the fruits of our growth are more evenly distributed.
Yeah.
So that the growth itself becomes much more sustainable.
Yeah. Job creation becomes very important, and historically India has not been a manufacturing-led kind of economy, right? Straight from agriculture we jump to service, and which typically happens, agriculture to manufacturing to service in other economies that we've seen, right? So there is this gap, and now we're of course talking about more bringing manufacturing and job creation as one of the agendas. What's your view on that? Like, where are we? And is it really something which will accelerate this faster pace of growth that we are, we need to be taking?
So yeah, you're right that I think agriculture to manufacturing to services has been the historical transition. But remember that manufacturing by itself no longer creates many jobs. So I remember, studying the steel industry, and it was such a giant employer in history. Today you have furnaces which you can operate sitting in Bombay. I mean, very, very few people to run a steel plant. So in Bokaro Steel, where I grew up, I think there were 100,000 people at one point. No, sorry, it was 40,000 people at one point. I think that number is down by some 60-70%. And still there are surpluses.
Oh, wow.
So because see, the modern furnace, to be competitive has to be like a 5,000 cubic meter furnace, which in 1 year will put out 4 million tons. It barely needs any people.
Yeah.
So and that's just steel. I mean, you think about the automation, the use of robotics in cars. There's so many people that I hear where much smaller footprint with mechanization, you can produce so much more. So I think we shouldn't and we don't have to choose between manufacturing and services as policy priority. I think we have to push for both.
Okay.
Manufacturing is not just for jobs; it's actually also for some level of Atmanirbharta. Complete Atmanirbharta is undesirable. We shouldn't even aim for that. But if you're vulnerable on all critical things, then someone will take advantage of that. So we need to have a lot of manufacturing in house. A lot of technology development happens when people tinker around with things. A lot of services are built around manufacturing. So manufacturing is critical, but it is not just about job creation. And at an aggregate level, I think that going forward, a large number of jobs are going to be created in services. So if you take a very holistic view or a very top-down macro view of the human society, it is all about providing goods and services to each other. So finally, everyone, so not everyone can grow food, not everyone can stitch clothes, not everyone can treat diseases, not everyone can provide financial services. So we've learned to sort of provide goods and services to each other. So there is no, I think, fixed menu or a fixed recipe for creating jobs. As populations change, new types of services like recreational, I would say commercialized leisure is among the fastest growing segments anywhere in the world in the last 50 years. So one of the steadiest trends in the last 150 years has been the drop in the number of hours people work in a week. Doesn't hold true for you, doesn't hold true for me, I guess, but
not with us.
but we keep working too hard. But point is, the average number of working hours has been coming down, and which means that the time available for leisure has been going up. And while early spending of leisure was in playgrounds and sitting at home or visiting family, today it is much more about commercialized leisure. So people want to play a video game, want to watch a movie, travel, see new places, experiences, chefs. So all of that I think will penetrate a lot deeper, and that's a huge job creator. So we don't necessarily have to rely on manufacturing. The bigger question, can we create jobs for everyone? The sad answer is no. There is significant disguised unemployment in agriculture, underemployment in females, female labor force participation is very, very low. If we were to create jobs for all of them, instead of creating 1 crore jobs a year, we have to create 3 crore jobs a year. That's not going to happen. So we are going to lose some of the dividend. But is there enough happening that 1 crore jobs can get created every year? I do think so. Because you can't grow the GDP at 7% a year, and I do think that that's our underlying trend growth, with no creation of jobs. I mean, our productivity is not rising that fast. So I think that there are enough jobs being created to absorb and at least prevent social instability from happening. So I think there are lots of things we could have done. So like, the infrastructure could have been improved faster than it has been. But the good thing is now it is in place. The labor laws, the regulations, just this year, 7 Indian states have amended labor laws to allow women to work the night shift. Right now, 2 things that come out of that. One, great, finally people are waking up. It is mostly for services to allow girls to work in modern trade, because those stores need to open till 10-11 p.m. so they need that permission. But it is shocking that they were not allowed to so far.
Not allowed, even I didn't know that.
Right, so it is remarkable.
There were regulations around that it was prohibiting. I thought it was a personal choice, and maybe
but in some cases,
types,
or in some states the law and order was so bad that you didn't want to venture out anyway. But the point is that those regulations still exist. I mean, when I saw the decriminalization provisions in one state's laws, that if you have built a house and there is no provision for groundwater extraction, it is a criminal offense. Really? So one business was saying that in some, let me not name the city, but that the office, someone came and said, oh, the font size of your business is not right. It's a criminal offense. So this guy in the headquarters said, oh, I'm going to sue them. Boss, they're just asking for 500 rupees. Let me just give them. I don't want to get. So these regulations still exist, and I think we need to remove them. We have to be forward-looking.
True.
We can still solve many of these problems. I think time is not. We have to be optimistic and forward-looking, and I think the resolve is starting to, collective resolve is starting to come through.
Yeah. What's the government thinking about, or making GIFT City more prominent as a international hub for India?
So one of the very senior people from Singapore had once mentioned that India's tragedy is its large size and its glorious history. So some of us in the room looked at each other and said, okay, that's true, but how is that tragic?
Yeah, it's okay.
So no, I think what he was trying to say was that we in Singapore were a small island with poor people thrown out of Malaysia. We would not have survived if we did not take the hard decisions and the right decisions. I think what he was trying to say was that there is at no point can you create an existential crisis for India. We've been invaded many times. Even the Chinese came to a certain level and said, let's go back. Right? So, no, I'm not trying to trivialize that issue, but I do think that the fact that tough decisions are taken only when people see survival at stake. Which is why 91 was such a pivotal movement. It was, all the templates were in place for the last 10 years, previous 10 years, but they just got rolled out because of the stress. So GIFT City, I think it's done remarkably well over the last couple of years. So, financial centers, they are like marketplaces. So you need demand and supply to happen at the same time. And without some significant incentive or some event that catalyzes it, it's like during demonetization and then during COVID, UPI got a significant surge. So vendors started accepting UPI because everyone didn't have cash. And then it has become the network effect and everyone now has to use UPI. It's the same with financial centers. So you go to a certain market because others are going there. I think GIFT City has been slower than it would have been because it is away from Mumbai. But at the same time, I think it has made remarkable progress in the last couple of years. So I don't know if you're aware, but the amount of aircraft leasing activity, the number of wealth management products that are being launched there, the number of global banks that have set up operations there, the number of Indian family offices that are using GIFT City to access foreign products. I think those numbers are rising very rapidly. The GIFT City administration is also, I think, very responsive to feedback.
They are.
They are, right? And so beyond the physical access that can you really be based there? Does the area have the social infrastructure in terms of schooling, and are there like direct flights that you can just land and do that? And so the people, so all of those, and maybe when the high-speed rail comes up, it will become the growth will become much faster. I do think it has come a long way. It has a major right to win, in my view, from a pure time zone perspective, and the fact that Hong Kong, the closer it gets to China, the more it relinquishes its status as a really financial center. But what GIFT City is also competing with is Dubai, which is just 2 hours away, and almost in the same time zone. And the tax-free living, the massive infrastructure investment, the connectivity, the network effects that have been created. So it's a competitive situation. But remember that most financial centers become gateways to a large economy. So Singapore, to a large extent, was the gateway to ASEAN. So initially, a lot of the wealth, etc., that came was from Indonesia, from Malaysia. Over time, of course, I think they allied very well with China, and increasingly with India as well. So Singapore and India are great partners. But Hong Kong became very powerful once China started to really balloon and grow in size, and so it became an access route to China. Similarly, I think Gift City has a huge potential in terms of, as India internationalizes. See, it is inevitable that in the next 10-15 years, our capital account is going to be a lot more open than it is right now. And in anticipation of that, I think the access to market, development of product, understanding of market, I think Gift City has a very important role to play.
Yeah. So coming to domestic capital flows and investment trends in India, we've seen that there has been a lot of domestic, investment flows, which is somewhere kind of, taking away this whole dependency from foreign, investment flows, right? The amount of SIPs, to your point, on a monthly basis, which 500, 1,000 rupee SIPs which are happening, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. By number itself,
yes.
I would say it's a tectonic shift in terms of the the wealth creation which is happening in India. So many capital markets activity which is happening right now as we speak. So much of wealth creation which we see coming in tier 2, tier 3 cities as well, right? So yeah, I mean, your view on some of these points would be really,
so it is
important for us to know, yeah.
So it is a very integral part of India's growth. So as we discussed earlier, what the developed world did in 150 to 200 years in terms of growing from lower income to upper income, we want to do in 60 years, which means that we need to grow at 3 times the pace that they did. Now, where does growth come from? Growth comes from labor input, capital input, total factor productivity, which is how many more workers are you throwing in, or you can have the same number of workers, you can throw in more robots, which is capital. In research, it could be databases. And then there is total factor productivity, which is that how well are you using technology, how you're well changing your processes to use labor and capital much more efficiently. Now, if you have to triple your growth rate compared to what the developed world did when they were at this stage, it is very hard to add more people. That is demographics. There is a certain pace at which the population will grow. You can't do much about it. You can get more people involved, which is why I think improving female labor force participation is a very important part of our growth process. But you can't do that too much. Productivity growth will be faster. So if they were growing at say 0.5% a year, because they were at the productivity frontier, so they were kind of doing no innovations and then growing forward. India, by imitation, can grow say 1.5 or 2%. So adopt technology 3 to 4 times the pace at which they did it. But that still leaves a gap of about 4-5% of the growth that needs to be contributed by capital formation. When those countries were growing at 1.5-2%, capital formation was retained earnings. Right? So the company made profits, reinvested it, and grew. In India, that is not sufficient because then it will grow too slowly. Now, the challenge is that if you make all of this capital formation debt, as we all know, it is unsustainable. I mean, it is very risky. If it works, of course, it creates wealth very rapidly, but the risk of failure becomes very high. So you need to have a good mix of equity and debt. Now, China bypassed it because by making sure that all of its financial services were state-owned. So if they gave a lot of debt to people, to businesses, if the business worked, the owner became a billionaire. If the business failed, the losses were socialized. So socialize losses, privatize gains. India cannot and should not do that, in my view. So where do you get risk capital from? Now, this is where SIPs play a very integral role. See, because if this money had been put in fixed deposits or any bank deposits, the only way they could have been deployed was through credit.
Credit, yeah.
Because the nature of capital doesn't change. Now, whether they are being missold, whether the people who are investing don't really know that equities are a dangerous asset class, they can be very volatile, is an observation. I think, that education, and if there is mis-selling happening, that needs to be curtailed. But the outcome from a macroeconomic perspective is that with $3.5 billion a month, which is $42 billion a year, you're talking about 1% of GDP worth of risk capital coming into the economy. And directly it cannot be deployed into companies. So what is happening is it is allowing business owners to exit, take out capital, create family offices, or allowing venture capital and private equity firms to make exits. So they say, some of them say brought in $1 billion 5-7 years back, and now they're taking out $2 billion. Now that seems like a loss, but remember that any capital you get has a cost. Venture capital is among the most expensive forms of equity, and we have been getting that, but that has helped our growth. But the very fact that these businesses or these venture investors are getting good exits is very positive, because it creates that feedback loop where they want to come and invest again. So this 1% of GDP of SIPs is actually creating a very fertile ecosystem on the equity risk capital market. Now, what happened in the first couple of years was that everyone was caught by surprise. Frankly, even today people don't understand how long this is going to last. But as the market started going up, like it happens in any market, that if there is too much demand for something and too little supply, prices go up. Once prices go up, then supply hits, because then the seller becomes interested. And this is exactly what is happening. So part of the reason that the markets have done nothing over the past 15 months is that there has been incredible amounts of supply. So IPOs, QIPs, block sales, and I don't think this supply is going to stop. In some ways, this is a natural, I would say, pressure release valve. So if markets fall a lot, the supply eases, and then the market gets pushed up again. So I think this is a significant amount of risk capital creation, which I think is a very unique and fundamental way in which India is different from how other countries have developed at this stage.
And what about bond market and private credit market in India? What's your view on that? Is it something that we can expect?
For people like me, there are many people like me who get opportunities to advise the government on what to do. The last 10 years have been very challenging, because you can no longer repeat your advice, because if your advice is good, it gets implemented. So you have to work hard to come up with new ideas. One of the ideas, which when you are out of all ideas, is we must develop the bond market. So for the last 25 years, this idea, when you gave to someone, they would note down diligently, yes, very important, but it's very hard to solve.
But what has been the challenge? I mean, of course, we would like to understand that. What has been the challenge? Because other markets have done it pretty.
I know. So, it's a classic problem of market creation, where you need to create demand and supply at the same time. So one of the reasons that investors don't get in is because these are illiquid markets. So below AA, so as someone was joking, to get money from the bond market, you have to prove that you don't need it. So you have to be a AAA or a PSU or an NBFC with asset to equity ratios which are 3 times or 4 times, not 10 times. before you can actually tap the bond market. What that means is that if you are, say, an A-rated or a B-rated corporate, or a double B-rated corporate, when you go into the market, there's no buyer.
There is no buyer.
Because if the buyer gets a bond, he can't sell it because there's no liquidity.
Yeah.
So it is classic market formation, right? So demand and supply need to rise at the same time. And I believe that is very hard to solve. So how do you think of market makers? How do you create that infrastructure so that people have incentives for creating the market? More importantly, how do you allow people to make money making markets? And in the process, they allow significant amounts of wealth to be created by the private sector for doing something very basic, because it is a very important service for the country to have over the medium term. There are many ways to solve this. So you can create allocations for pension funds, you can create allocations for insurance funds, for corporate bonds, you can the interest rate derivatives. So these are, if you
and I'm sure it's been
all of these suggestions have been made several times. Somehow we've not been able to solve it fully. So the size of the bond market is rising, so which is a good thing. In fact, in the last 6 months, I think the bond markets have taken significant share from banks. As an Axis Bank employee, of course, I'm not very happy about that, but as a market observer, I think it's a very positive development. But still, I think that it's only for the high quality borrowers, and I think we need to deepen the market. Private credit, has its own limitations. I don't think it can scale like a bond market can. So I think it's important for us to get our act together to get liquidity into the bond market.
My last question to you, Neelkanth. What is your personal investment philosophy?
I doubt anyone can learn from that. I'm a very lazy investor.
I knew it.
So I don't take many decisions. So once in a while I act on my conviction. So like I bought some gold 2 years back. Again, it was 1 year too early, but it's now.
That was a good decision.
Yeah, it turned out to be a good decision
and
for one year.
Asset class diversification too. I mean,
So that was the reason. That was the reason, and I kind of felt that we are getting to a situation where this fiat currency risk and all of that will start coming through. I have felt that equity markets are too expensive.
True.
And so been parking away a lot of funds in arbitrage funds, or very basically low return but reasonably safe products, hoping that there will be a correction and I can buy. That doesn't happen, and I don't expect it will happen. It will be a deep correction anyway. I look at investments rather holistically. So suppose I'm thinking about the next 5 years. So if I'm working in financial services and a reasonable part of my payout is linked to the stock markets, because I work in an investment bank and it is linked to that, and part of it is ESOPs on the bank. When I think about allocations, I need to be aware that a lot of my income is also coming. So by definition, I keep some money in fixed income, because equities is where is kind of reasonable exposure. My explicit equity exposure may not be that high as I would have liked to, because I think that there is. So anyway, so I'm a very risk averse, very steady investor. I like doing my work, and there's not much time to spend on my own investments.
So I can understand that it's wealth management itself is a different subject altogether. It requires a lot of time, consumes a lot of time as well, and I'm sure bases your philosophy. I'm sure you're looking at a right amount of asset diversification and portfolio diversification, so which makes sense. But having said that, what a wonderful conversation, Neelkanth.
Thank
you
you
so much. Thank you so much for so many, insights and things that you've kind of spoken about, right from global Trump tariff to AI to GST, India's tag.